Welcome back. We're here to do the Divine Masculine update for January 2024. As I mentioned in the feminine, I can't believe I'm saying 2024. Last year felt like it was super intense, as well as, I think, extremely exhausting. So I wouldn't be surprised as we feel everything's coming at us, especially within our own inner masculine. We do feel a little bit overwhelmed in the first few weeks. Now, if you do subscribe, we do have super chats that are scheduled regularly. Also, as scheduled, you can click on the video and that will give you a notification of when we are coming live separately. We do have such within the members, and the benefit of such is that we have one tier level membership as of January. So if you haven't changed your membership level, go through and change it so that you don't miss out on the content coming through. We're going to get straight into the read for the Divine Masculine and see what's coming through for them in the first week of January. Now, this energy is quite fluid. Some of them can be feeling it from, the first week before and into the month of January. They are really looking at things from a spiritual nature. Now, Mercury really retrograded in the house of Capricorn. It then moved back into Sagittarius. So it's doing a cuspy energy. It's doing two things. We're looking to the past. We're also looking to the future. And I do feel Divine Masculine here in the mix, especially with that 9 energy. Whenever we're dealing with Jupiter currently is in Taurus. It's going to be going direct as of New Year's Eve. Now, the thing to be mindful of New Year's Eve, especially was the fact that when it goes direct, it's shadow direct. So we can feel, psychic attacks possible, number one. We also can feel overzealous and over-optimistic, and it's not that we can't be, it's that we should really guard ourselves against certain things, especially I will be launching some predictions, and some of them are, like I said, it always happens a month before, so I would predict that already news was coming out mid-January to do with some of the things I'm going to predict, mid-December, to do with the predictions for January. So Divine Masculine here in the mix is in that 9 energy, and it can be really going into their mind, really meditating upon what they want to do, how they feel about themselves. And there is this slight depression that's coming through. Discovery, inquiry, weirdness, and curiosity. And I think they're really thinking quite a lot about their life, quite a lot about Divine Feminine. And there is this depression, there is this strictness that is coming through within them that, how would I put it? Frustration at the fact that things haven't turned out the way they wanted it to. And now really wondering, what's up in the hood? How do we deal with this as we proceed forward? Now, I'm looking to the past position. Here is the overall energy for the first week of January. And again, this energy can be fluid. It can be an embodiment that they have for the entire month, but we do check up with this frequency weekly. I'm looking to the past position here, and there's things that they're trying to wrap up that are overdue. It's almost looking at patterns they had where they weren't letting go of circumstances. This can be psychologically, emotionally, or physically. We've got the Death card in reverse. And so, looking to the past, there were some things that they were struggling with to let go of. This also can link to Divine Feminine, not wanting to let go of you, but really also having some of their own baggage that they were needing to let go of, and it was really holding them back. So I do feel the previous moon in the previous cycle, I do think it relates back to 2023. They're kind of carrying this over into the new year, and they're saying, look, I really need to address these things. I really need to wrap these things up. Pushing these emotions down, not realizing it's almost like the intent was set. The trigger point was set, and as we're moving into January, I feel some of these conditions are really washing away. They may not, again, I feel this emotion is being pushed down, but it's coming up regardless. So it could have been that they had very little time to actually rest and recover, especially because as Jupiter goes direct, it can be that things are coming at us left, right, and center. And I feel even if it's not coming up, it's a little bit like the way universe operates. It's like they give us warning signs, they give us warning systems, and it comes up inevitably, especially if we're living a life of facade. Do they feel they're going a bit mad? They do. They do feel that, they're crazy for having these feelings they're having. They're crazy for having these attitudes or maybe continuing a pattern. They're looking back to the past and they're like, I really needed to wrap this up a while ago. Why am I doing this? This also can be directional for them, where they feel they're not really sure about the direction they're going. They could have kept it in the status quo. This could have been a job, a partnership, an attitude, or a memory system. I do think that they really are having this link there. So it's almost like they're having a revelation that there is a link to an issue. They do feel they're a bit nuts. It's a little bit like the Mad Hatter. I also feel some habits really being looked upon at this point. This can be all of a sudden wanting to go on a health kick, wanting to get back to healthy, wanting to really look very seriously at their future and making some adjustments in the frequency. And it was really funny because as I pulled the cards, I did really pull the cards for Divine Feminine. And I noticed when I pulled the cards for Masculine, I had one less row. And I think it's because they're trying to simplify circumstances and they're very directional. They're very intentional with their thought process at this point in time. And they're actually noticing that less is more. So having to condense it right down, having to take a little bit of time to meditate upon this. Sometimes, yes, this can look like hermit mode, but I don't directly feel it's that they're going to be retreating back. If anything, they've done that retreat, they've done that intuitive energy, and they're like, right, I need to get quite deadly serious in January. I need to make some adjustments. I'll have a lot on my plate. How can I manage these circumstances? What do I need to wrap up right now? Now, their foundation. Their intent at this point in time is to get crap done. Let's be perfectly honest. It's like if they're wanting something, they're realizing they're going to have to go after it. If they're actually making plans and they're wondering how this circumstance would go, be it it's with Divine Feminine, be it it's with leaving a karmic, be it it's with leaving a job, I feel that they're looking at it and there is this worry wart energy, but they're like, how am I going to know at a foundation level if I don't just go, if I don't just take some direct step here? I do think some of these things they realize that they're actually attracting into their life themselves. They also do realize that, how can I explain it? It's a little bit like, having faith is one thing, but actually taking direct action, it's a little bit like universe, you saying to universe, oh, there's a flood, universe, give me a sign, and somebody comes past and they've got a raft and it's like, no, I'm waiting for Gaia. And then they come past and they're like, they're in a helicopter and it's like, come with me so you don't drown. And you go, no, I'm waiting for Gaia. It's like these offerings have been there. Now Divine Masculine is looking at it. It's almost like the third rule. And they're realizing that, yeah, they have been cursed. They have felt cursed, but has some of that been off their own hand? There can also be a circumstance where they're directly looking at relationships, and this would more relate to those in a karmic relationship. And it's like, is there a spiritual connection between me and this individual? Have I known for a long time that I needed to let this circumstance go? And I feel it's almost like the shoe is on the other foot, and suddenly they're having a revelation that there's something in their life they don't want, and it's only them that can actually do something about it. Are they going into the rabbit hole of going, hey, I don't really know how I feel? This is where the hermit energy actually serves its purpose. And I think some could have had a tower moment and it's kind of pushed them into this hermit energy. It's forced them into this hermit mode. So they have to answer that direct question inside themselves. I also feel that they're actually picking up on Divine Feminine's energy. And it's a little bit like, look, if you don't know what you want, I can't help you with that. You're coming in quite flighty. You're coming in quite confused. There's mixed emotions here. Have they been trying to balance? They have, but there's two directions here. They're looking up to their world. They're like, look, I've made a lot of sacrifices. Maybe it's been for people, places, and things. Now directly in the mix, if I'm going to make a sacrifice, is it going to be for people, places, and things? Or is it going to be for my own personal reasons to get me back into a balance? I'm noticing it's almost like a balance, judgment to do with this. Again, 9 energy. They're looking at the world. The world's upside down. There's a bit of a mess in their life. They're trying to balance the orange and the apple. And I feel within this circumstance, it's going to have to be something spiritual to them, because it's almost like the noise is so loud that they just are not going to be able to mute it. So I feel what they're walking into with this circumstance, and I feel they're well aware of it, is the fact that things have been out of balance for a long time, overdue circumstances to wrap up there, and it does feel very intense. Are they wondering how it will go? 100%. But the pressure point, wondering and not acting, we're looking to this individual walking through the rain, not alone if they have their spiritual compass. It's a little bit like footprints in the sand, not walking alone, having that faith. I feel this walking through these emotions and sitting with them and feeling them. It's almost like they're needing to balance their inner feminine at this point. And I feel they've had a lot of masculine energy going on. Really lacking that intuition, even when it came to the moon and the heart chakra, almost pushing it down like they didn't have permission to indulge in their own feelings, their own passions, their own needs. And I think they're trying to balance that. Jupiter's really shifting them forward. Mars has gone through a rebirth as well back in December. So really moving into January, it's a grand opportunity. There still can be some meditation in the first 2 weeks. But what I do see here coming through in the outcome energy is that they're having a revelation that it's very messy, that the world is changing, that their life and their personal needs are changing. And they do feel if they can balance that and tune into it and have faith that, what is important to them doesn't have to be important to other people. But I think if they can choose themselves, this is where they'll be the best for others. I do feel there is a choice, and I do feel they've tried to make things something that they directly weren't. This can be maybe a karmic energy, saying to themselves that the circumstance is great, this is all they can have. And I really see them realizing that they've taken the apple from the wrong tree. You can't make an apple on an orange. They're deciding to shift this about. They're wanting balance and harmony. They're having to effectively address the elephant in the room. And I feel by doing such, they're actually going to get back into that spiritual sense. They are noticing a difference, though. This is directly connected to the twin flame path. There is a spiritual connection with divine feminine. There also is a spiritual connection they're needing to reconnect to within themselves. And I feel with all their hopes and dreams and aspirations, I feel if they can be very intentional about it, I do feel this dream that they're wondering, is it going to be successful? I feel if they can look to the past and actually have a revelation that something needs to be wrapped up, this old cycle can be done correctly. But I also feel a hope from the past is going to come through. I also get this intimate energy that, how do I put it? It's a little bit like the sacral chakra energy needs recharging. We're going to go into clarifiers and see if there's any additional messages before we wrap this up. Okay, what are they pondering over at this point, please? Yeah, this is to do with commitments and connections. This also can be a position. Okay, what's unfinished here? What is this unfinished business? Oh, gosh. Okay, there's a big conversation they're needing to have. This is to do with connections. This is overdue conversations. Being very selective of connections. Okay, how are they going to react to this, please? There is something that is going to the past, though. They can also stop talking to somebody. They also directly feel very strict with themselves that they need to get their crap together. But this is their attitude. It's like, gee, I've really got to get my life together here. For some, it can directly be, especially if there's communication between feminine and masculine. I do feel they know what needs to be addressed. We have the consistency card. We do have at a base level foundation, something to do with home and accommodation, something to do with value systems. But I feel this person needs to be more structured. I also feel a guide on the other side is coming through and trying to speak to their heart. And they're saying it's not over. What are you wanting to end? What are you wanting to begin? This person is opening up their third eye. And I do feel from a psychic level, they are getting a lot of downloads. If they're ignoring it, I also feel their loved ones on the other side are directly communicating with them through their dream state, especially if there is a stubbornness occurring. Do they feel they're crazy? They do. They feel they're crazy. Okay. There is a bit of jealousy coming up, especially for those of you that haven't communicated. It's a bit like this divine feminine moved on with another person. I haven't been masculine enough. What do I need to do? They also feel there's a lot of changes they need to make, especially where it does come to their value systems. You know, actually the art of appreciation and showing. Yeah, oh gosh, okay. Some do have a gift for you. Some feel they need to really transform themselves. They also feel the value systems within connections now have changed, where maybe they were more the surface value energy. Could have been that they were attracted to quite pretentious individuals. Something's shifted here. They do directly feel that they are more connected to a person of a spiritual level, not just a 3D karmic. Okay, there's big surprises, and I think it's going to be their actions. I feel their actions are really going to surprise them. They're actually going to, it's almost like their meditation is going to draw them back to divine feminine, but it's also going to draw them back to what they're really directly committed to. Okay, there has been a connection. I feel this is a past tense connection. I don't feel this is divine feminine. They're almost calling themselves out. It's like, why were you looking at it with rose-colored glasses? This was a very toxic connection. If they hadn't left this situation in some shape or form, it could have been enabling the individual. It might have been tuning into the person, especially if they are already separated. They're really looking at it from a very clear point of view. They also did have a lot of growing up to do, they felt. This also could have been an excuse factor that they had for not seeing it quite clearly. This is actually putting it to rest now, them putting it to bed, because they're realizing this is a very, very old cycle. I do directly see some transitioning jobs. And they're having to really look at it and say, look, does this fit into my life? Is this going to work for some of my future plans? Is this directly impacting my path moving forward? I don't know why I get a very strong need to have a conversation of transparency. This can be both with loved ones, but they're going into their heart space and they're really pouring their juice both into their own life, but also directly connected to being kind to themselves, really being kind to themselves and investing in things that feel relevant to them. I do feel they can be reaching out to a friend. They can be having a candid chat. Again, I do feel they're compartmentalizing, and in order to have a reunion here, I think reunion really is the outcome card is positive. I feel they're having a candid chat with an individual and putting them in a friendship box. And I do feel they're realizing if they keep doing this to divine feminine is going to move forward. And I do get they're having to really go into their thought process and be very careful about how they act. We will check in with the karmic third party. If you want to come through, take a look. Very separately, these are out weekly. We do have the super chats as per scheduled. And if you're wanting something a little bit more private, you can join our 1-tier level membership, which gives you the pre-release content. More hopefully to come, which will be announced mid-January. Very separately, we will be covering the joint connection that will be hosted live. Take care, and I'll see you for the karmic third party.